Hey y'all, watch me take this 220-year-old copper beech slab and turn it into an 8-foot dining table. So I found this on Marketplace and I couldn't pass it up at the price, and I'd never worked with copper beech before, never worked with beech before, but like I said, the price was just too good. So grabbed it. It was about 10 feet long, had it flattened by a local sawmiller with a router sled. Um, I didn't feel like building something that large to flatten it myself, so I had someone else do it. And then I decided to remove the bark, but keep it as natural as possible. I go about finding the center by measuring both ends and just marking the middle, and then drawing a rough line, chalk line. Obviously, with live edge slabs, you don't really have a straight line anywhere, so it's a little difficult to try to figure out where exactly your center line is. And the main reason for that is just so I can square off the ends and make sure it's a consistent length. Here you'll see a low spot. I wasn't able to completely flatten it, otherwise I would have lost a lot of width. And I had a couple of those, but I ended up just kind of blending the sanding in. And here's my first mistake on this table. I'd seen this bevel done quite a few times and thought it would look good, but it just looked kind of awkward with the live edge still on, and I ended up shortening the table slightly to get rid of it. So it's a little humid today, but now that I have it flattened, I thought I'd check the moisture just to be sure. And I found a nice little surprise. So what I think happened here is the people I bought the slabs from had it stored in a garage, so there was no airflow like you would normally see on stickered slabs. I'm guessing it kind of case hardened, and once it was surfaced, this pocket was, obviously still left over. Okay, so here's what I got. Oop. I got 2x4s underneath, 2x4s on top, plywood on top of that, and about 200 pounds of sand to help keep it flat, and a humidifier running, getting a couple gallons of water every day. So we'll leave this for a few weeks and hopefully it dries up. So after about a month, I actually took it to a place on Marketplace that I found that had a 5-foot by 10-foot CNC machine. They surfaced it perfectly, even cut the C-channel slots for it. And it ended up being okay. I salvaged it to be about 1 7/8 inches, so it was a little bit thinner than I wanted, but still very doable for a dining table. So this is the best way I came up with on how to make sure the legs are square and even with each other. Put a framing square there up against the one leg and attach the longest straight edge I have, which was my track saw. So that way this is lined up perfectly and I don't have any twist. So on some of the thinner cracks, I wanted to go with just a regular clear epoxy, and then on some of the wider ones, I decided this midnight blue, kind of a deep blue, actually blended in really well. I'm not a huge fan of the bright blue, but this was a little more subtle, so I think it just blends in with the kind of gold color of the slab. Again, keeping this as natural as possible with all the worm tunnels and bug holes and all that, and just breaking the edges so it's not sharp to the touch. I got this 90-degree attachment on Etsy. I'll link to it in the description, but it's nice for the first pass, at least with 120, to make sure you got a perfect 90. An 1/8 inch round over on both ends, and then I knew I needed to do something with this edge, and I planned on using the grinder, so I just kind of rounded it and then went back in with an angle grinder and Rotex to smooth it out. And here I'm using one of the offcuts to get the material for my bow ties. I found a nice piece with some curling in it and decided to go with 3 bow ties. And here I'm using the Blacktail Studio jig to create bow ties. It's a really good jig. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link to it in the description, but it makes it super easy to cut the bow ties and also cut the inlays as well. I had a tough time with some of these smaller holes, so sometimes it's easier to just use a V-gouge and dig them out a little bit bigger, and then either the super glue or epoxy will just fill them in a little bit better. I raised the grain a couple times throughout the sanding process, just trying to get a nicer, smoother finish, and sanded both sides up to 220. After that, I wiped it down with mineral spirits, try to get all the dust off and see if I missed any parts sanding. For the finish, I went with Osmo oil, and it took me a few tries to figure out the best way to apply it. I used it before, but not on a project this big, and eventually figured out that buffing it in with white pads was kind of the easiest way after using a spreader. After each coat, I would buff it with a maroon pad similar to steel wool, and then apply another coat. And here's the finished piece. Let me know what you guys think. I am located in northeastern Pennsylvania, and I really don't want to ship this. So if you or someone you know is in my area and is interested in this piece, send them my way, and maybe I'll give you a bonus.